Why are you still sharing intelligence with Israel at this stage?
I've got nothing more to add.
Defence Secretary, why is the UK still sharing intelligence with Israel and sending surveillance flights over Gaza? You've sanctioned their ministers, but you're still sharing intelligence with them. So that was the Defence Secretary, John Healey, walking into the Prime Minister's residence at number 10 Downing Street, where the government have just announced sanctions on two far-right Israeli ministers. But Healey is continuing to send Royal Air Force spy flights over Gaza and sharing that intelligence with Israel. Now, it's a British tradition for journalists to stand outside number 10 and call out questions to ministers. But it's a bit of a charade because we know they're never going to be answered here, and the police have warned us not to step beyond this barrier, so we can't go chasing after the ministers if they don't answer. Given how serious the situation is in Gaza and the fact that Healey is the politician in charge of the UK military, I'm going to try a slightly different approach when Healey leaves Downing Street to see if I can get the answers to the questions that I know you want asked. Hello there, Defence Secretary. My name's Phil Miller. I'm a journalist from Declassified UK. Can I ask you a couple of questions about the Royal Air Force surveillance flights that you keep sending over Gaza and the intelligence that you're sharing with Israel, Minister?
Good morning.
Morning. How can you justify continuing to send these planes over Gaza and sharing intelligence with Israel when your own government has just sanctioned two far-right ministers? One of them's the National Security Minister, the other has duties in the Defence Ministry. Why are you still sharing intelligence with Israel at this stage of the genocide?
Look, I've made entirely clear to Parliament the nature of those flights, the restricted nature of the intelligence linked to finding and helping free hostages, and I've got nothing more to add.
Isn't it time you did a proper sit-down interview with a journalist about this, though, sir? Because you've not really had any independent scrutiny of these flights.
I think you'd be hard-pressed to come up with another cabinet member who's done more sit-down interviews with the media in the last 2 or 3 weeks than me as Defence Secretary, because we face very difficult times, changing world, increasing threats, and that's why we're...
But no journalist has asked you about the Royal Air Force spy flights over Gaza, have they, Minister? You've sent hundreds of these flights. How can you trust that the intelligence being shared with Israel is not being used to target civilians in Gaza? So that was the Defence Secretary, John Healey, there, refusing to give a proper interview to Declassified. He just walked out of Downing Street and straight into the Ministry of Defence. As soon as we started asking about Israel, he'd very obviously sped up and tried to get away.
Clear off the steps, please. Thank you. To protect the site. Thank you.
We've just been asked by the security there to move away from the steps in front of the Ministry of Defence, but we'll just go down to what I believe is a public byway in front of the MOD. You can see there how sensitive the Minister is to any kind of scrutiny. John Healey was so keen to avoid our questions about his support for Israel's military that he just walked out in front of oncoming traffic in Whitehall. Didn't really expect him to be in such a rush. You would think he could answer questions and not risk his own life to try and avoid them. Clearly there's a lot there that he doesn't want to talk about. He claims to have done these interviews with other media outlets in recent weeks, but we've been watching them and none of those journalists have asked him about these spy flights. It's all been about defence spending in Ukraine. So there's a real absence of accountability in terms of why Healey keeps sharing intelligence with Israel, especially after sanctions have gone on these ministers last night. Itamar Ben-Gvir is Israel's national security minister. Bezalel Smotrich is known as a finance minister, but he also has additional responsibilities in the Ministry of Defence. So these are the kind of people that are potentially in receipt of intelligence from the Royal Air Force. David Lammy says that they're monstrous, and yet John Healey, the Defence Secretary, is keen to keep working with them, just so long as journalists don't ask him actual questions about it. Another striking thing was that Healey appeared to show no compassion for the starving people of Gaza. Footage filmed just hours earlier showed Palestinians grieving the loss of 25 people, killed by Israeli troops for the crime of queuing up for food. Others were bombed in their beds. And yet the UK government continues to collaborate with Israel's military. In fact, Healey had sent a spy flight over the Gaza Strip the night before this massacre to gather intelligence for Israel. He told me the pilots are looking for hostages, but after more than 500 flights, there's no evidence they found anyone. The only British nationals among the hostages were either killed during Israeli military operations or freed in the ceasefire. And the Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has even acknowledged that Netanyahu's war plan won't free hostages.
Nearly all the hostages have been freed through negotiations, not military force.
But Healey appears comfortable to keep dealing with Netanyahu's government. Last year, he even went to Israel and met then Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes in Gaza. Documents obtained by Declassified showed his meeting was meant to progress our bilateral defence relationship. Right now, he's even letting Israeli troops take part in military training courses inside the UK, Parliament was told last night. And it was John Healey who warned his colleague, the Trade Secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, not to ban exports of fighter jet parts to Israel, even though those planes have killed Palestinian civilians. So it seems that Healey, like his defence chief, Admiral Radikin, could have blood on his hands for continuing to collaborate with Israel's war in Gaza. No one else in the media is doing this kind of journalism about Britain's complicity in the Gaza genocide. In fact, John Healey's security detail was so surprised by it that they came back out to ask us which media outlet we were from. If you want to help us do more journalism like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, share the video, and if you're able to make a donation through the Super Thanks or on our website, please do. Thanks for watching.